What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another deck profile, and today we're visiting an older deck that I've already, done a couple of videos on, and that's my World Chalice deck. I have made a few adjustments to the main deck, and I think maybe a couple of card adjustments since the last time to the extra deck. Either way, before we get into the video, I would like if you guys hit that like button down below, shared this video out, and last but certainly not least, if you are new, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. We've been stuck at 91 subs, and I'm really just wanting to hit 100 subs. From there, I don't know what I'll do, but I have good news, and I'll wait to tell you guys at the end of the video. So let's get right on into this. Starting us off, we have 3 copies of Vacant, Chosen, and Crowned by the World Chalice. You're obviously going to want to either open with these or just have them in your hand to start combos with, or you're going to have to, or you're going to want another card in this deck that we'll get into later to help start with combos. Next, for the World Chalice effect monsters, we play 3 Guard Dragon. Guard Dragon is a hand trap in this deck where it can send itself from hand or field of the graveyard to negate a targeting effect on a linked monster. Not a link monster, but a linked monster. I believe that's what he does. No, when a card or effect is attacked. Yeah, the target's a linked monster. He negates it and then destroys it. But then he also has a Monster Reborn effect while he's in the graveyard. He can banish himself to target a normal monster in the graveyard to special summon it to his own link monster points to. Pretty neat, pretty neat. Next up, we have our first extender, or well, not our first extender, our second combo piece, which is World Legacy World Chalice. It's a level 5 monster, but it has to be normal summoned, which isn't that hard in this deck as long as you open with it. Opening with it has been a challenge for me even at 3. And searching it is no easy feat unless you're in Union Carrier. But aside the point, it has a on-field effect where it can contribute itself to negate stuff, if I am correct. Yes, if a monster is summoned from the extra deck, so during the damage step, you contribute this, and then you send that to the graveyard. You don't negate the summon, you just send it to the graveyard. And then the bottom 2 effects are hard onces. The one that you're going to use is if this face-up normal summon card leaves the field, just leaves the field at all, you can summon 2 World Chalice monsters from your deck with different names, and that's it. And then the other one is you can banish him from the graveyard. Yeah, during the main phase, except the turn it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card and add a World Chalice card from your deck to your hand. So it can, if you end with it on your board, it can send Dragoon to the graveyard because it's non-targeting and it doesn't destroy. And then on top of that, if it's normal summoned and you send it from field to the graveyard, you get 2 monsters out of the deck. And then it can also rota any of your World Chalice cards. And then last but not least, we play 1 copy of Lee, the World Chalice Fairy. She searches any of your World Chalice any World Chalice monster, and then she can send a World Chalice monster or a World Chalice card from your field or hand to the graveyard to add herself from the graveyard back to your hand. We only play her as a 1-of because you only really want to summon her off of the Chalice effect. If you open with this card, it's not that great. You might have to, hope you open with another card in the deck, but I just don't agree with this card at any more than 1. If you want to play it at 2, play it at 2, but personally, I play it at 1. And that's it for the World Chalice cards. So starting us off with with the only, you know, generic monster that's a starter. 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit. Oh, I placed that too far. So Rescue Rabbit, I put in, in my last profile, it was only at 2 because I thought I only had 2. Then I went and dug through some of my stuff and I found a third one, so I was like, oh hey, I can put this in the deck. So I cut a couple of cards out and rearranged the deck a little bit. And now I run 3 Rescue Rabbit. Its effect is you can banish this card. You can banish this face-up card on your side of the field to then summon 2 normal monsters from your deck with the same name. And that's all it does. It's a hard once per turn. So if you open with multiple of it, it's not really that great. But yeah, Rescue Rabbit to 3 really helps this deck out with combos. Next up for our, I want to call it a generic draw package, but it's not really, a generic draw package. It's just a really good archetype that you can splash into anything, and that's Dangers. We only have 2 Mothman this time as opposed to 3 like we had last time. All the Dangers have the effect where you can reveal it, and then your opponent randomly chooses one from your hand to send to the grave, or for you to discard, and if it wasn't this card, you special summon it and draw a card. That effect, or the first effect is not once per turn, but you can, but if it is if this card is discarded, it is a Dark World Dealings, I believe. Both players draw 1 and discard 1, which can help with some danger effects, which is pretty nice. Next we play 1 Nessie, because Nessie, it's at 1, and it's just really freaking good. What do? Has the generic, and then, okay, so it has the generic danger effect. But it also searches all of your dangers if it is discarded. So, pretty good. It searches your entire danger engine, I guess you could call it. And then we have Danger Snack. Danger Snack is just a guaranteed body on the board if it's discarded. If it's not discarded, you summon it and draw a card. If it is discarded, you summon it from the graveyard. Pretty simple. And then the newest addition is 1 Danger Chupacabra. This one is a monster reborn for dangers. If you have another danger in the graveyard and he gets discarded, you can summon back another danger from the graveyard except himself. And that is it for the monster cards in the deck. It is a very monster heavy deck, as you can tell. This is all the monsters we just went through. Pretty hefty amount of monsters, I would say so myself, but a lot of the starters are monsters. Starting us off with the spells, though, we have obviously 3 copies of Unexpected Die, just a really good card for normal monsters. If you control no monsters, you can special summon a normal monster from your deck. For those of you that play Salamangreats, I know I have a friend that plays Salads. You can use this to summon a normal Cyberse monster from the deck and link into Baylinks, and it's also a bait for Ash. So if your opponent, if your opening hand isn't that great, but you have this, and you can play through an Ash with this card, I would suggest playing it in any of the level 2 normal monsters for Salamangreat. Next up, we play 3 copies of Swing of Memories. It is just a really good Monster Reborn-like card for normal monsters. It summons a normal monster from the graveyard in any position you want. And it dies on the end phase, but that's not really gonna happen too often. Because, yeah. And one other thing about Swing of Memories is it's not once per turn. At all. It is a full-on just summon a normal monster back from the graveyard. Just like this next card that I play at 3, Silent Doom. Silent Doom is a really good card because it summons a normal monster from the graveyard in defense position, and it cannot declare an attack that turn. You're going to be linking that monster away. I can guarantee it. And those are the only 3 ofs. Another 3 of I would highly suggest running is called Faustian Bargain. Faustian Bargain has the effect that you can send one monster or one effect monster on either side of the field to the graveyard to special summon a normal monster from your hand. So it turns your normal monsters into kaijus essentially, and it does not target, I believe, because it is an older card. So you can kaiju your opponent's Dragoon and summon a normal monster to your field. Pretty good. In a deck based around normal monsters. Next, we have 2 copies of Painful Decision. I really want to play this card at 2. It gets too cloggy at 3. Because of it being a hard once per turn. This card, you send a normal monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then you add that, another copy of that monster from your deck to your hand. The normal monsters have a lot of really good support. I also play 2 copies of Avarice because, let's say you get Nibiru mid combo or something like that. You can put back all of your World Chalice monsters that you need for the combo. Or, just put back some really good combo pieces that you need in your extra deck for next turn, just in case you think your opponent can break your board, which I'll tell you what this board can end, or what this deck can end on board-wise. And, yeah, we'll get into that. So, that's it for the 2 of spells. Now we have the 1 ofs, which are 1 copy of World Legacy Heart. I only play this at 1 because it's a hard once per turn for 1, and it's a Return of the Dragon Lords in the graveyard. But for a linked monster, it doesn't protect any of your link monsters, but it protects monsters that are in zones your monster points to. Just like Guard Dragon. But its other effect, or its activate from hand effect, is you can target 2 World Chalice monsters in your graveyard and add them back to your hand. So it's a pseudo +1 because you use 1 card and you get 2 for no cost. Pretty good. And it just sucks that it has to be from the graveyard and your opponent can call it by one of your targets. But then we also play Raigeki and Monster Reborn. The reason why I play Raigeki is, well, because if you're made to go second and you see this card, you can just drop it on your opponent's board and say bye-bye to their field. I have been contemplating changing up some of the spells in the deck because I have opened 3 of the Charmer structure deck. So, yeah. I don't know. We'll get to that as soon as I, get this deck perfected, in my opinion. I haven't perfected this deck. But anyways, on to the extra deck for the World Chalice extra deck monsters. We play 1 Ningirsu, the World Chalice Warrior. Really good monster for any link-based strategy. He just requires 2+ link monsters, and whenever he's summoned, he can draw cards equal to the number of World Chalice cards he points to. Which in any other deck isn't really that great, but the other effect he has is phenomenal for every deck. He can, non-targeting, send one card from both players' sides of the field to the graveyard. So if you have something that you think would be beneficial in the graveyard, or something that gets a graveyard effect, you can send it and a interruption from your opponent's side of the board, or your opponent's board to the graveyard without targeting. So, like I said, Dragoon is one of the ones that comes to mind. Next, we play 2 copies of Arum, the World Chalice Blademaster. We don't really use him for his effect, we just use him for the fact that, he's a link 2 for the deck. He can also swap out your monsters here and there from the graveyard by sending one that he points to the graveyard and summoning back one with a different name. He also gains 300 attack for each World Legacy card in the graveyard, which is pretty nutty. I'm still proxying my second copy of Ib, the World Chalice Priestess. She essentially protects all of your stuff by sending herself to the graveyard, and she also protects herself while she is linked. So while she's in a link or in a era, while she's being pointed to, she is unable to be killed, essentially. And then we play 3 Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon. He has the effect of Gemini Seraphonite, but you don't have to run Garnet. You just have to normal summon a normal monster. And then all of these have the same effect that when they leave the field, you can summon a World Chalice monster from your hand, which is pretty good, if I do say so myself. It can, help you get like a Garnet Lee out of your hand by sending one of them to the grave, and yeah. But that's it for the World Chalice Link monsters. It takes up a pretty hefty amount of stuff in our extra deck. But you do cycle through your extra deck pretty fast. Next, we move on to the generic package of Nightmares. We run 1 Griffin, 1 Unicorn, and 1 Cerberus, and 1 Phoenix. So this deck, while testing, when it gets going, now it's under very specific circumstances, if your opponent does not interrupt any of your plays, which I believe the only things that can really interrupt the plays are like Ash on the Unexpected Die or the Rabbit, and if they Ash your Rabbit, it's kind of game over from there. But when you can run Ash at 3 and Called by at 1, kind of makes, everything bad. But when this deck gets going, and if it gets going, you can end on a co-linked Unicorn in your extra monster zone, Nightmare Griffin below it, and one of the 2 linked 2s on the left or right side of the Griffin, which essentially gives you a skill drain for your opponent's turn if going first. But I don't run any traps or hand traps in this deck because this deck can't really afford that. You would be playing more than 40 cards. My list right now is 40 cards. So I don't play any hand traps or trap cards in the deck because it slows the deck down too much. And that is it for the Nightmares. Onwards to our generic links. The generic links we have are 1 Avermax. You can make this with the 2 Link 2 Nightmare monsters, or just any Link 2 or any 2 Link 2s in the deck. He's just really good for beating over special summon monsters because anything that's less than him dies, or anything that's the same attack as him. Actually, anything that's summoned from the extra deck dies against this thing because he honests himself. And then he has a floating effect to non-target remove a card from the field when he leaves the field. So, yeah, it's great. We also play 1 Saryuja because you can actually go into this, and it can help you extend by summoning a copy of Rescue Rabbit from your hand and then you can banish the rescue rabbit, get more normal monsters, link those off, and do a bunch of crazy shenanigans. Next, we play one copy of Link Spider because Link Spider's, generically good. If you really wanted to, a combo you can do is normal summon a normal monster, link it off for Link Spider, and then after summoning Link Spider, after summoning Link Spider, you can special summon a normal monster to his zone he points to, and then link it off for an Imduke, and you have an additional normal summon that way. And then you would have basically 2 normal summons and 2 link monsters on the board with 2 normal monsters out of your hand. Or just any combination of a link monster and like one of the revival spells. But that is it for the deck. I'm going to pause the video and we'll get right into the end of the video. Alright guys, I hope you did enjoy this updated World Chalice deck profile. I know it hasn't changed a whole lot. I did add the Chupacabra and I added the Rescue Rabbit. I might eventually add Dark Ruler No More into this deck because it's a blind second deck, but it can also go first and play through a couple of negations. Well, it can play through an Ash on unexpected die, but if they Ash something else, then you just kind of scoop her up. But yeah, well, it can play through an Ash if they Ash your rabbit and you open with like Painful Decision. And then, you can extend from there with a Reborn-like effect, which you have 7 Monster Reborns in the deck. You have the 3 swing, the 3, God darn it, I forgot the name of the card. The 3... Silent Doom, and the 1 Monster Reborn for your 7 Reborns. But anyways, I'm gonna cut the video, before I cut the video, I wanted to let you guys know I finally have a job. That's kind of why I missed out on streaming last week, and I'll probably miss out on streaming this week. I'm sorry, I know you guys probably cared so much about me playing through Dark Souls on stream, but I've got a job. And it will hopefully be starting either this Thursday or sometime this week. And that means I can open up sealed product for you guys, which is great. I'm looking forward to that so much. Also, it means I can finish another deck that I have in the works. Yeah, I've been working on my own Marincess deck in the background. So without further ado, if you're new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, click that bell, turn on all notifications for my channel, and last but certainly not least, be sure to share this video around with your friends, and do whatever. I'm really wanting to hit 100 subs, and I really want to take this channel somewhere. I'm not saying I want to take it as far as, 2 million subs, but maybe, 100 subs right now would be great. And then wherever I go from there is wherever I go. If I get stuck at 100, I get stuck at 100. If I get over 100, I'll be happy. Anyways, guys, I'm glad you've stuck with me through this journey. I know I've had a lot of rough times with this channel where I've, gone missing and all this and that, but I'm trying to, be as consistent as possible. And I will see y'all later. Peace.